All right, first Palmetto State, then the Sunshine State. How important are these two primaries to your campaign?
Well, South Carolina is extraordinarily important because it's going to set the stage for Florida. And if, as it looks might happen now, I win here, the momentum of having won here will carry us into Florida and we'll win Florida. If it's really, really close, then we're going to go to Florida and it's going to be really, really close. So it's a big deal. And every conservative that I can convince to leave Perry and Santorum and join me makes it more and more likely we'll win. It's clear if you take the three conservatives that a conservative is the natural pick in South Carolina, and a Massachusetts moderate is going to be a minority candidate. And in the last 48 hours since the debate in Myrtle Beach, you can sort of feel it coming together. So this is very exciting for us. And the next couple of days are wild.
And last night, Nathan, you said you have nothing against Santorum or Perry. It's just picking the person.
Well, it's a practical thing. The national Rasmussen poll says we're now within 3 points of Romney nationally. And if you add in Santorum is way behind that, and then Perry's behind him, you add those in, and I'd be ahead by 60-40.
And also last night you talked about reforming the federal government to make it work. Obviously we have a large installment of the Department of Anti-Energy, as you referred to it last night. Talk a little bit about your energy.
Yeah, and people need to remember that we had a nuclear program long before we had a Department of Energy. And we had ways of running it through a nuclear commission that worked perfectly well without all the bureaucracy of the Department of Energy. So I'd like to liberate it to go back and focus on breakthroughs. We need a next generation nuclear power plant that is much more stable, much easier to run, requires much less red tape than the big multi-billion-dollar, very sophisticated but high pressure, high temperature systems that we now have. The technology's there, the science is there. I think we're going to have a lot of nuclear power in the future. I think that's a big part of America's energy future.
At SRS, Savannah River site right now, they're looking at other alternative sources of energy to bring in new jobs in this 21st century. Are you behind those initiatives?
Absolutely. Look, when you have the level of scientists and engineers and technicians you have here at Savannah River, I want to liberate them to invent as many new things as they can, and then frankly to spin off and create private companies. I mean, you could be for power what Silicon Valley is for information. And you could have right here along the Savannah River Valley a substantial number of people who are engaged in developing all sorts of new technology, whether it's solar or wind or geothermal or a range of abilities to use, you know, I mean, frankly, there's magnetic capabilities also create different kind of interesting possibilities.
And Aiken County, the county we're in right now, actually has a lawsuit right now against the federal government as it pertains to Yucca Mountain and its termination under President Obama. Where do you stand on Yucca Mountain?
Well, we either have to find a way to get Nevadans to say yes, or we have to find a new system. And in either case, the money that is owed to South Carolina ought to be paid to it if we're not going to do this. And I have a firm commitment to go to the state of South Carolina that you're going to get the money if they don't finish building Yucca Mountain, because you've been held hostage to a really bad political process.
Obviously, a lot of rural areas in this part of South Carolina alone, some that had unemployment up to 20% in the recession. How do we attract businesses to come to these small areas rather than overseas countries?
Well, we have to have a better infrastructure, so we have better highways, better railroads. We have to rebuild the port of Charleston so it can take the new larger ships that are going to come through the expanded Panama Canal starting in 2014. I have a tax policy and a regulatory policy that people can see at newt.org that is designed to have an explosive growth of manufacturing in the U.S. And I think if we get that, there's a study out by the Boston Consulting Group that by 2015, South Carolina will be less expensive to manufacture in than China. So I want to, as president, I want to be at the Port of Charleston watching the first container ship that has South Carolina manufactured goods going to China to be sold in Walmart with made in the USA on them. And I think we can have a very pro-growth, very pro-manufacturing policy.
And bigger picture here, how do we make the entire nation's economy competitive on the global stage?
Well, it's the same thing. You have to have lower taxes, less regulation. You have to, I think, fix unemployment compensation so it becomes a training program, not just pay people to do nothing. You've got to have a commitment with the U.S. Trade Representative to go out and really be tough about opening up markets and giving us a chance to go and sell in the world market.
And finally, how do you like your chances going into this Saturday?
Oh, I think we have lots of momentum. I'm very excited. It's a little bit like a football game. I think we're in the fourth quarter, and I sense that we're on offense and that Romney is crumbling, and I think that the more people learn about him, the more they realize how liberal he was in Massachusetts, the better we're going to do.
All right.
All right?
Thank you.
Good to be
Nice
with
talk
you.
to you.
Thank you.